Hey, welcome back to my channel. This is Jeannie Lynch, continuing the beautiful work of spiritual stories worth sharing. Beautiful playlist. I love bringing different people to you who have had experiences, came through those experiences with grace, but on top of that, have created a system or a process or a gift back out to the world. And that is absolutely my next guest. I met my next guest in my beautiful group multi-authored book that we published together called Caged No More. We became fast friends, and you're going to meet her today. All about movement. She calls herself a transformational coach. Okay, you're going to learn what that is. And all through movement, through yoga, through dance, finding your joy, letting go of what no longer serves you, and so on. We're going to be tearing that up, breaking it down, and gifting that to you today. So stay listening. That fun interview, it's coming up next. Phoebe, yay! So happy that you're here. Thank you for taking some time out of your very busy schedule and introducing yourself to my audience. As you know, people are either watching this on our YouTube channels or they're viewing or listening to this on our podcast channels. We truly do appreciate the audience. So today, as you know, because we've been talking offline, I'm really interested in your modality of somatic. Is that the right word?
Yeah.
Okay. Movement. You're saying, how do you help people heal through movement? So we're going to learn a little bit about your journey and what your modality is, but also get to know you a little bit better. I feel like I know you because we just finished the beautiful project of Caged No More.
Yes.
And we're going to get to know each other deeper today. So my audience has a sense of you. Why don't you tell us a little bit about you and your beautiful work?
Okay. Well, thank you for that intro, first of all. A little bit about me. Well, directly into the somatics. Somatic, just for people who don't know what that word means, it just simply means to be in the body, to be in your awareness of the body. And so in my own personal journey, have been very much in my body. I was a dancer. My mom jokes that I was dancing before I was walking because I was in the Jolly Jumper,
Yes.
bouncing up and down before I was even walking. So I have always been very much grounded in my body, my awareness of my body, understanding the lines that I was creating in terms of the background of my dance career. And then it also evolved into this healing journey of yoga being my physical therapy for taking care of my body. And then what I was realizing in that journey of exploring yoga and teaching yoga was that there was something more going on here in the body, not just maintaining it as a professional athlete in a way, right, as a dancer. So I was realizing there were stories that my body was telling me through injuries and through disease. And I was also realizing too that, and one of my teachers always would say, how you do anything is how you do everything. And so I was realizing too that how am I moving my body is also how I'm moving through my life.
Yeah.
And so that is really what my connection is to this idea of this word somatics. This is a big buzzword right now because there's a lot of people are experiencing a lot of trauma. And so there's the invitation, that I would say like the past, 10, 15 years, it's been about the mindset. And now people are really turning on to this idea of, oh, there's a body story happening as well as the story that we tell in our minds. So somatics has really evolved and become more in the forefront of the community of wellness recently.
So I have a question that I know you're going to relate to. My sister Susie comes to mind. I've worked with people energetically, right? So I'm an intuitive energy healer. So I look at people's energy when I'm reading them. And there is a mark of people. A mark just means like a mark of a teacher, a mark of an empath, okay? There are certain energies out there that cannot not move their body. Like, I think we all need to move our body. But some people, and it sounds like that's what you are, like you will get sick if you don't move your body. And my sister's one of these people, right? So she has to have a routine of walking or something. If you look back to over her life, my life, or anyone's life, those times where you're stagnant, usually you can find some issues around that, right? So
Yeah.
how do you motivate people to do this? How do people come to you because they're in that space, or is it, so take me there. Like, so how did you get involved with this aspect? Obviously you were a dancer, but take
Yeah.
me to the other people and let's say I'm not someone who likes to move and I've never even taken a yoga class. Can I
Yeah.
still find a space in your room?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I want to speak into what you were just saying in terms of, we have this word somatic linked with the movement, but we can do this even in a meditation. So we could work with people who are in a place, maybe they are confined in a wheelchair, they can still be in their body and be in the awareness of their body through meditation. And that's just a lot of inquiry, leaning in with curiosity of what are the sensations, or maybe there is a lack of sensation, right? So we can lean in and ask the body, okay, is there a message here for me? So just simply that anybody who has a body can lean into these practices. So the movement piece, just to answer that, is if you're not considered a mover, but you're thinking about, oh, I'd like to move in my body and unpack that, but I'm scared, I've never been on a yoga mat, or whatever that is, right? There's more of like the mental limitations.
Yes.
What I really stress is that especially right now as we're recording this, we're in such a heightened state of awareness. And when we're in this heightened state of awareness, we're in what we call the sympathetic nervous system, the fight, flight, or freeze system, which I know you know all too well.
I know it so well. Thank you. Thank you for reminding me.
And we have to drop down into what is called the parasympathetic nervous system. That's the rest and digest system. When we can drop into the rest and digest system, this way we can move in a way that is not from just survival, right? So we're in fight or flight, right? We're in this tense state. We're using the bigger muscles in our bodies just to survive. Yes. And we shut down different parts of our systems, like our digestive system, our reproductive system. So when people are under a lot of stress, for example, a lot of women who want to have babies, they have a hard time, with their fertility because they're in that heightened state, whether they know that or not, right? So the reason why we have these kind of movement practices, specifically my Movement 109 practice, is to drop you down into the parasympathetic nervous system so you can rest and digest. So a lot of the movement is very organic. It's very accessible. It really starts lying on the floor and really just taking very small, minute movement and acknowledging the sensations you're feeling, the patterns that you're holding, or maybe you're avoiding. And then we play within that space. So it's not something that you look at like yoga, the yoga poses that there's a leg around your head and you're balancing on a fingertip or whatever it is. And you're like, I can't do that, right? This is a whole different thing where you're just honoring what your body can do and celebrating what your body can do.
Got it. So I know you have 3 arms, right? So you have the healing and you have the dance and you have the yoga. So if somebody was signing up for your 101 somatic, is it mostly yoga or are they 2 different things? Take me there again so people can learn.
Yeah. So Movement 109 is a movement practice that I came to about 4 years ago. And it was really from me because I was done on the yoga mat. I had been teaching for 15 years.
Got it.
And I realized, okay, I need something different. And what I was finding was going back to the very organic movement that I was doing as a child and the movement that we were doing as dancers, as a way of rehabbing and kind of repatterning the body after, an injury, like physical therapy. So that's where it came from. And so it's really this journey of reconnecting with your body.
So let's stop there for a second too, for people who are watching. So
Yeah.
I'm thinking of my own yoga practice, which only started 10 years ago. I was
Yeah.
late to the mat. But I remember looking back after 2 years, started to experience injuries. Why? Because I was trying to do the standing on one finger with my head, because I'm an athlete, right? So was doing these crazy things, not realizing that beginner meant beginner for a reason. So my practices were like an hour and a half. And today, 30 minutes of Kundalini, sitting on the mat, working on just breath. And I guess the point I want to make for people who are starting is, yoga, the union, right? It's a practice of love for self, and there's no measure. That's what I love about Kundalini, because it's close your eyes and no one's looking. So it's all inside. And I think it's fascinating that you can peel back so much, and your practice, when you're standing in your own practice and it's yours, then you've arrived, right? That's the union they talk about. So, and I love that COVID happened. I don't love COVID happening, but I love the fact that we can work online. And so take us there. How do you do this right now?
Okay. So to speak to a little bit more of what you just said in terms of the mat, where you were in your evolution, and kind of wanting to do all of those extracurricular things at the yoga mat. This practice is for anybody, right? Whether you had your leg around your head or you really haven't been mobile at all. So I want to just emphasize that this is for anybody, whether you're considered a beginner or an advanced practitioner. I love to really think that we're all beginners.
Mm-hmm.
And also to speak to what you were saying with COVID, I was just in a session a moment ago before this, and we were talking about specifically the pandemic and how it wasn't happening to us, like that victim space. And I say this not lightly. I know that there was a lot of suffering there, but it is this opportunity of how it's happening for us. And so what you just spoke into, of this idea of we can be online more. And, I probably wouldn't have known you, Jeannie,
Yeah, true.
and Annette, who brought us together through Cage No More, because I wouldn't have been online as much as I would have been in my local community. So to speak to that transition that I had there, I had always the intention with my business, Nomad, to be online. It was originally teaching yoga and yoga retreats and teacher trainings. And then there was always an online studio aspect to it. It's been online for about 7 years. And I knew that it was going to expand there before the pandemic. So actually for me, it was a little bit challenging because I was already there and I was starting to grow. But then when the pandemic happened and the lockdown happened, and all the yoga studios and all the other
Yes.
sort of competitors that weren't competitors because they were in local physical brick and mortar places were online too. So all of a sudden the competition, I hate using that word, but it
Got it.
expanded. And so it was like, and I only had my core group, which is a solid group, and I love them. But it was almost like all of a sudden there was so much more noise.
I never thought about it until you said that. If people were
Yeah,
already online, it got, there was just diluted, right? So,
yeah,
but I also love that so many more people are open to it, right?
yeah,
So we started working online because I lost my clients back in Vermont. I was doing remote readings for people, but this pushed it classes and meetings and networking events and everything online. So,
yeah.
so
Yeah, it's just perspective. I mean, like, I love it, and it was just another challenge. And I look at challenge as, I really choose not to be a victim of challenge, but to really lean into it with curiosity and say, how can this happen for me, and how can I co-create with this challenge?
deep. So let's do this. I love it because I think people can really connect to a success story. So you have your own success story of how you were able to move some trauma but is there anyone that you can think of in your experience that you can say, I met this person, you don't have to use names, but just give us a success story so people can relate and say, oh my God, that is so me right now.
In terms of somebody who's worked with me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Or, got certified to do what you do, or just have found their voice because of movement and
Yeah.
Anything, just, yeah, connection there would be great.
I mean, honestly, I have so many stories because I'm
Good.
so proud of so many of the students and clients that I've worked with. I'm just so proud of them. One in particular, actually, I'm going to speak into two if that's okay.
Love it.
Because they both came to me at the same time, but they took similar but different paths.
Okay.
So they both came to me through the door of yoga. They both came to me through the teacher training program. But at that time, I was playing with Movement 109, my new movement practice. And so it was this place where I was in a vulnerable place because I presented it to my group and I was like, I know this isn't yoga, but is this anything? Are you guys, do you resonate with this? And everybody just lit up. They were like, yes. And I thought they would be a bit resistant because they
Yeah.
came for the down dogs and the warriors. Yeah. And they just lit up. And so these two people that I'm going to speak of, Jen was going through. She's married, and she was at the time Mormon, and she was deciding. And they have 3 kids, and she was deciding to leave her faith. And so she was really in this space of obstacle of, okay, how am I going to separate from this community, but not separate and isolate from my family? And so a lot of what we did through my program, so it was the movement practice, but there's a lot of layers of programs that she's been on with me. She was able to do this. I'm not saying just because of my program, she did a lot of inner work on her own too, and working one-on-one with me, but she was able to integrate in a new way into her new life that was empowering. And it's just been such a joy to be able to witness her and to support her. And she still has challenges that come her way, but she does it in such a graceful way, in such a powerful way, where she's really stepped into her own body and stepped into her own voice. And it's just been such a joy and such a gift. Another person who came in through that same period in time, Amy, she was from the military. To ask to dance, I just remember kind of her like, a little bit resistant. And we worked through it. Now it's like she loves coming to this practice. She did a couple of programs with me since then that take us deeper into the self-awareness aspect of it. And it lights me up to see her have a little bit of this, lean into that softer side of her. Of herself, and how she integrates the playfulness of the practice with her children, because she homeschools her children. So those are just two people who came at the similar times but took different paths using this practice and this program.
It's funny, I remember being at the Omega Institute, which I'm sure you're aware of. And we were with Sonia Chiquette, and it was I was grieving, I was in a room with all these people, and she was like, let's dance with our joy guides. And I was like, so in the wrong place.
Yeah.
To this day, she was like, close your eyes. If your eyes are open, you're not doing it right. In the middle of dancing with my joy guys, didn't my daughter show up? Okay, who's on the other side. And we were doing the turnaround dress thing together, and just, I've never forgotten it, and it healed, right? So to this day, 15, 16 years later, whenever I think of movement and I think of getting in and tapping in and just really, it's being open, and I would have never have known. So to your point of the 101, I love it. So can people become certified still with you? And take us there, because I know a lot of people that follow my channel are also yoginis. So if anyone's ready to get to that next step, do you do this online, or is it a retreat? Or take us there so we can...
We have so many things happening at Nomad. So yes, I do still lead yoga teacher trainings, a little bit more limited. They are online. I don't have dates for this next one, but it will be in 2022. So we have 200-hour and 300-hour teacher training. That's like I like to think of it as like the masters in yoga. So you have your basic foundational practice and then 300-hour. I also have my Movement 109 facilitator training.
Oh,
So
nice.
that's for anybody. That might be for a yoga teacher or a healer, or anyone out there who wants to add this modality into their practice. Even health coaches and wellness coaches and life coaches, they can integrate these somatic practices. And it's not, they might take like bits and pieces. So I have a number of healers that integrate it into what they're already doing.
Got it.
So we
And
have.
is it licensed back to you and and is it all labeled through you? You know what I mean? And I respect that if it is, but is it your brand?
So Movement 109 is trademarked, to
Okay.
answer that question. And we have different levels. So we have the basic foundational groundwork, where that's really for you just to take and integrate in. However, if you want to teach the whole experience, that would be level 2 or level 3,
Got it.
where it's a little bit more of, aligning with our brand or that style. I don't necessarily know what word I want to share
Yeah.
to use with that, but yeah, more or less branded in the experience, that whole experience. And what I'm really excited about too is this aspect of storytelling that I've stepped into this
Take
past
us
year,
there.
as
Take us
you
there.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I set the intention in January to get my book published. And I had written a first draft that I wasn't very excited about. I knew that it was still raw and I needed to get it just on paper.
Yeah.
But I was ready. I had done that a few years prior. And so I was ready to move things around and see it from a different perspective and let people read it and not, I wouldn't
Yeah.
feel attacked, right? If they were just, critically moving things if need be, like editors do. So I set that intention in January, working diligently. And then Annette, who you know from
Yeah.
Sanctuary Publishing, she showed up in my life or in my messenger and said, I have this book. And I thought, oh, this is the book that I intended. And so this was the multi-author book that you were a part of, that we were both a part of with 14 other women. Yeah, there's 16 of us. Yes. So I thought, okay, that's it. But I kept doing my work. And within a week of signing with Annette, I had another publisher reach out to me and propose that they wanted to publish my book. So Grace Point Publishing is publishing my first solo book.
Got it.
That'll be out in early 2022. And then developing this program with Movement 109 and all the other experiences that I did through my writing process of writing my shadows. I was writing to the shadow emotions and the lighter emotions. I developed a program to take people through their own shadows and light.
Stop there. I want to understand that more.
Yeah.
So I love what you're saying. And I want to just kind of go back to, for the audience, the power of writing. Right? So we had to get our chapter down to 3,000 words. And, and when people come, there's a connection here. When people come to me to work on their grief, I'll say, so tell me the day your husband died, and they're like, they go through these long stories, right? Like I woke up that morning at 8, I had coffee. And, the more they tell the story, the more quick and defined it gets. And so that's just them processing. I could listen to somebody tell the story of the day their husband died for 5 sessions because that's so important to process. Same with writing our chapters, right? We took our story and then we got it down. So what you're saying and what I'm hearing you say is you take that same aspect of the story and you're attaching it to a movement, right? Inward, out, and then do they choreograph this for themselves and it becomes their interpretive dance? Is that what you're saying?
Somewhat. So to walk you through that piece. So I wanted to speak to what you just said too about the grief part, because I have a couple of things. You had so many good juicy things in there. I'm going to try to
Let's go to grief. My channel understands grief really well.
Yeah.
So let's go there.
Let me hold on that one. But what you were saying about the chapter of the expanded awareness of your story and then getting it down, I thought that I don't know how you all did that, honestly, because I had already written it. So I was like, well, let me pull from here and here. And it got me to be really concise. Because if I had just been like, oh my God, what am I going to say in these 3,000 words? So having that broader expanded awareness helps you also get into that space of, okay, what's most important here?
Yes.
Yeah. And then to speak into the grief, in my book, my solo book that's coming out, I write letters to my emotions, and one was grief. And so what I do in the program is I carry each month, it's a 7-month program, we go through the shadows and the lighter emotions. And so we will work with, what does grief feel like? And very well, and listeners out there, it's not a linear emotion. It's not something like anger where we get triggered and there's this, you can clearly see it in retrospect, maybe not in the moment, but you clearly feel that trigger. And then there's that heightened state of awareness. There's a reaction or response. And then something, it dissipates and then it goes back down. Now, maybe it doesn't go back all the way down to homeostasis, depending on your relationship with anger. But there's that arc, right? Yeah. And grief doesn't have an arc. Grief is so all over the place. Grief, you can be crying one moment and then happy the next, and then anger again. And so it encompasses everything, really, grief, right? So that's one of the months that we really dive into it. Like, what does grief look like for you? And in this time and space that you're in, because 7 years ago when you lost your mother, or last week when you lost your dog, they might look completely different. So how do we make friends with grief and make space for grief so that when it comes to your door, my favorite poem is the Rumi, The Guest House, right? Whenever they come knocking on your door, we don't just keep them out, right? We can let them come in. We're not inviting them in, but we'll let them come in. And really be able to sit with it so it's not deconstructive. I mean, it's yes.
So I so connect to that. I remembered in the beginning of grief, when you talked about, the waves and the dips and stuff, I think the more you process it, I think you can get to that place where it's a little bit more manageable. At least that's my intention when I'm working with people. Maybe before we wrap up today, when you knew I was going to reach out to you and we were going to do this interview, and thank you for your time today, and you were hoping that one thing got said. Did it get said, or did I miss something?
I think you did a beautiful job. There is one thing that I did want to say too, in terms of the program, because I didn't fully answer that. There is the group aspect that you were speaking into, but also there is a work with one-on-one, and this is to really empower people in their voice. So this is my overall mission, is to empower people to embody their bodies and their lives and their stories. So the big announcement that I just made today with my publisher, Grace Point, is that we're partnering up to form Nomad Press, so that if people want to step into their story and empower their voice by sharing and getting their book published, we will be working with them in this container. So I'm excited about that. And that's something that I haven't told many people yet.
Okay, you heard it here. You heard it here.
Yes.
I love it. So, hey, guess what?
Yeah.
We're sliding into our rapid fire. So right now, the special effects are kicking up. The music just got louder. So thank you so much for being here today and gracing us with your time and your beautiful energy. We appreciate you. Okay, are you ready? 1-word answers. What is your favorite movie?
Dirty Dancing.
Oh my God, of course, right? If you were going to change the world today, the world needs what in order to be changed?
Embodiment.
2, pet peeve. We all have pet peeves. Come on, what is yours?
My pet peeve is not responding. Just zero, like ghosting. No.
So hey, everybody, comment below. Let's see if they respond, right? Personal quality about yourself that you love, Phoebe.
That I have freedom to move.
And then the last question, what are you doing when you're experiencing joy?
Same thing.
Moving. Love it. So thank everybody for watching. We truly do appreciate you. Phoebe and Jeannie are checking out. We'll see you next video. Thanks again.
Thank you.